Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. This video is for a free healing video. It's been a wee while since we've done a free healing demonstration, and quite often ask my soul consciousness, what could we do for a free healing? And a lot of the times I kind of get denied in regards to doing one. But with this one that we're going to do today, which is in regards to diabetes or even the process of a pre-diabetic in regards to insulin resistance, we're going to do a free healing in regards to that. This came about through working on a particular client that is pre-diabetic, and when we look into diabetes, and of course there are two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2, or non-insulin dependent diabetes or insulin dependent diabetes. Obviously, there's one that's more familiar to most, which is non-insulin dependent diabetes, which is generally more of a chronological thing that people develop over a period of time. And of course, that all stems through insulin resistance, which means that the blood sugar, right? So the sugar in the blood, it's not being uptaken by the red blood cell. So therefore that glucose can now then be used as a source of fuel. It sits in the blood. And of course, then that indicates to the pancreas to continually secrete more insulin, which is overworking the pancreas. And you've got an issue all of a sudden where there is an impairment with their blood sugar levels. Now, type 1 diabetes, which is insulin-dependent diabetes, which is also called juvenile diabetes. And why it's called juvenile, because generally, juvenile means as a child. So that one is not so much based on chronologically as we get older. And that's usually through an impairment of the pancreas' ability to provide or create any insulin. And of course, they essentially need to go straight on to supplying or injecting insulin regularly in regards to that particular situation or problem. Now, this clearing here can support both, right? Because whether you are in insulin-dependent diabetic or juvenile diabetes and you're injecting insulin, you still want and still need the red blood cells to be very open to accepting that direction of the blood sugar going into the red blood cell so it can be used as a fuel source. But of course, in particularly with non-insulin dependent diabetes. So let's do the clearing now, the free healing, and we'll talk a little bit more after we've done it. So here we go. Okay. Now, for everybody watching and listening to this video now, in regards to their red blood cells, I want to apply the principle to allow instead of deny, please. I want to apply the principle to allow instead of deny in regards to everybody's red blood cells, please. Now, allow meaning to open, right? To receive the sugar in that bloodstream, right? To be insulin sensitive instead of insulin resistant. Because deny is to be resistant. So apply that principle to allow instead of deny in regards to everybody watching or listening, their red blood cells, please. Nice. Okay, so that's done. Now, what we applied to the red blood cell there is one of the, what we call heart-centered principles. Now, for anybody that's had sessions with me will be well aware of that particular principle and what I'm going to talk about now. There are three principles that make up this heart-centered approach. And at Truly Holistic, we're all about getting people more in their hearts, right? Because the role of the heart is to facilitate your authenticity as a soul consciousness, right? So when we get our heart open, we not only facilitate everything we are, we also facilitate everything the body needs. Okay? So when we're talking about diabetes here, and especially with the blood chemistry, by having our heart open and facilitating these heart-centered principles, we are facilitating the necessary flow or vortex of energy, right? And grounding or earthing aspect to your blood, because there's now a lot of science based on earthing or grounding an individual and their blood chemistry completely changing, right? For example, they'll take an individual and they'll take a blood, they'll remove some blood from that individual that wasn't grounded, and then they'll ground them for 30 minutes. Like, they'll just use technology like a grounding mat, very much like if somebody went out barefoot out on the earth, with the nerve endings on the bottom of feet absorbing that negative ionization from the crust of the earth. And what they noticed between those two blood samples was the person that was ungrounded, the red blood cells were all toppled on each other like poker chips, and they call that roulette. And what's happening there is there are very few of that red blood cell that hold a negative charge. And even though it says negative, that's the charge you want. And we're talking about negative ionization, okay? And so all the other red blood cells that don't have that charge is looking for that, because that's what it wants, okay? Because that's its natural state, okay? So it then jumps on the red blood cell that has that. Now, and therefore they're all the red blood cells all clumped together, which means thick blood, or blood that has lost its flow, its vortex ability, which is to move and flow. Okay. Now, what we see at Truly Holistic here, when everything congests, right? So the blood, for example, and this could apply to the lymph or any other part of the body, when it loses its flow and it starts to congest, this is the initiation of illness that everyone experiences. Okay. It's to a congestion, obstruction, or blockage of flow. Okay, so because things now accumulate, right? So a state of congestion is created where things to accumulate, and of course that leads to the very definition of toxicity, which is an accumulation of material substance in the body that sits there for too long. And of course, then the role of many aspects of your body start to malfunction, okay? For example, red blood cells and its uptake of that glucose, that blood sugar, so it can use it as fuel, right? Its ability to remain insulin sensitive. Now, when they looked at the blood sample of the person that was grounded or earthed for half an hour, then all of a sudden, through that grounding, that earthing, every red blood cell was given that negative charge, and now they're all free floating, right? So none of them are clumping on top of each other, which means that the blood is now gone from ketchup to red wine, right? Its viscosity is not thick, it's thin, and it's free moving. It's regained its ability to flow, right? Okay, and when it's in that state, that those red blood cells, their ability to function in the way they should do, including to allow that blood sugar to be taken in through the membrane and to be used as glucose as a fuel source, is enabled and enhanced. Okay. Now, how that connects to what we mean by getting heart-centered is that when we get somebody's heart open, right, and they use their process, their discernment, and how they apply themselves as an energy, but from the heart, not from the mind, we provide that flow, that vortex action to the body. Our original ground is an open heart. Okay, so this is where we, allow is a heart-centered approach, while deny is a mind-orientated approach. And as I say, when we're more mind-orientated, we do not provide our natural state, meaning we provide a state of the body where everything starts to congest, obstruct, and block because we lose our flow. Okay. So that's one of the principles. The other two principles that we quite often apply in sessions is to surrender instead of control. And surrender is the heart-centered principle. Control is the mind-orientated principle, right? There's nothing controlling the mind. The mind is the controlling mechanism. And then the other principle is to forgive instead of to hold on. Now, forgive is your ability to let go, right? While holding on means that you become the very dam of your own flow, right? So you're congesting, obstructing not only your discernment method of your choices, but the very state. You're no longer providing a state that supports the body. Okay, so when we look at blood chemistry, but just where we're looking at a biological level, chemical level, or hormone level, it's all dependent on the state that is presented to the body. Okay, and we've got two choices. We can present a state that provides that flow, that vortex action, and one that provides congestion instead. So this is where we work a lot on these particular issues and these problems, which include diabetic problems. Okay, because when somebody then has full-blown diabetes, all these other adverse effects come along with it, like, for example, circulation problems. And what's circulation about? Circulation is about flow, blood flow. And a lot of the times, diabetes is associated also with cardiovascular disease issues, high blood pressure. What's blood pressure about? Flow of the blood again, right? So there's one core focus amongst all of this, and it's about flow. Okay, and when we get you more in the heart and get you out of the head and get that heart open, facilitate more of yourself as that consciousness, that carrier wave, that presenting that, which is that vortex, that flow, we then provide your natural state, which is to allow every physiology and every aspect to flow so it can work at its true and highest potential. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video. Please comment below and tell me what you felt in regards to that free healing. Now, if you have diabetes or pre-diabetic issues or any cardiovascular issues such as an arrhythmia, as high blood pressure, you are on blood thinners because you're well known to having thick blood, a viscosity issue in regards to the blood. Take in mind that we do session work, right, where we can help you. Okay, so go and book a session at trulyholistic.net/appointments/. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching the video and you haven't subscribed already, and push the notification bell to be notified when the next video drops. Till next time, catch you later.